so beautiful. And I have heard amazing things about Big Magic. I listened to a little bit of the audiobook over the summer, and I decided that now is the time to finish the book, or restart and finish the book this time. I am a creative. I'm a professional actor, singer, and dancer. I do musical theater, as well as I work in social media for different theater companies in the city I live in. So I thought that this book would be very inspiring for my line of work. And it was. I ranked it. I believe I have my Goodreads pulled up. I ranked it a 4 out of 5 stars. Yes. This is the description of the book. some stakes. Coming from a queer person, there is a lot at stake when it comes to coming out and how people will react, especially if you are in the public eye, especially in the way that Scott is in one of the most homophobic sports. Let's just be so for real. But at some points in the book, it just didn't feel like there was a lot at stake. So there was not a lot to lose. But I still loved it, and I am currently reading Heated Rivalry, which I thoroughly enjoy. That will be a part of next month's book review. So I gave this a 3.5 stars. Thank you, Rachel Reed. The next book I read was The Intruder by Frida McFadden. This was the first time that I have read a thriller since middle school. I read it because I was a nerd, and I was obsessed with it and Stranger Things. I still am. And everyone has been obsessed with Frida McFadden, so I thought that I would give one of her books a try. And I started with The Intruder. This is the description. Who knows what the storm will blow in? Casey's cabin in the wilderness is not built for a hurricane. Her roof shakes, the lights flicker, and the tree outside her front door sways ominously in the wind. But she's a lot more worried about the girl she discovers lurking outside her kitchen window. She's young, she's alone, and she's covered in blood. I know that Frida McFadden is known for her plot twists, and that is no different in this book. There is a big old plot twist in this book that I was not expecting at all. I thought it was very clever how it tied into everything that preceded it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope to read more of her books. I only ranked it at 3 out of 5 stars because some of the writing, it's told from a dual perspective from both the woman in the cabin and the little girl. I thought that sometimes the writing for the little girl was just way too juvenile, which I know sounds kind of ironic, but like, there was just some of it where I was like, I was 12 once and I wouldn't have said this, you know? And this book was just published. So a 12-year-old nowadays does not speak like the 12-year-old that is depicted in this book. Anyways, I hope to read more of Frida McFadden's books, or just more thriller in general, because I really liked it. The fourth book that I read was The Witches Are Coming by Lindy West, which I loved reading it because so many people thought that I was reading a supernatural book, when instead it is a feminist commentary book. Here is part of the description. In this wickedly funny cultural critique, the author of the critically acclaimed memoir and Hulu series, Shrill, exposes misogyny in the #MeToo era. This is a witch hunt. We're witches, and we're hunting you. It was a commentary on the patriarchy, misogyny, and her view of feminism, which Lindy West is a feminist, and I think she has such a beautiful way putting it into words. There were very, very, very beautiful moments when talking about the Trump administration, Republican plausible deniability, as well as abortion. I think that was the abortion chapter was my favorite chapter. She is wildly funny, but also at the same time has the gift of not only being funny, but also being so true, just so honest and raw. I loved it. I ranked it 5 stars. The fifth book I read was Ta-Nehisi Coates, I believe. notes to his teenage son at the time. Here is part of the description. This is your country, this is your world, this is your body, and you must find some way to live within the all of it. In a profound work that pivots from the biggest questions about American history and ideals to the most intimate concerns of a father for his son, Ta-Nehisi Coates offers a powerful new framework for understanding our nation's history and current crisis. Americans have built an empire on the idea of race, a falsehood that damages us all but falls most heavily on the bodies of black women and men, bodies exploited through slavery and segregation, and today threatened, locked up, and murdered out of all proportion. What is it like to inhabit a black body and find a way to live in it? And how can we all honestly reckon with this fraud history and free ourselves from its burden? I ranked this a 5 out of 5. I think this was honestly one of the best books I have read in a very long time. It brought me to tears a lot of the time. I love reading memoirs, especially by people in marginalized communities, especially during this time in our country. This book was written a while ago, but I think a lot of what Coates wrote about is still very prevalent, especially in this time in our history, about what race means in the idea of whiteness and systemic racism. This book was so beautiful. I have read Coates' Case for Reparations, or I listened to the Case for Reparations over the summer, and I was inspired to add more of his works in my TBR. And it was so beautifully written that I believe I finished it in about 2 days. Because I could have finished it in a day if I had the time. It was so fresh and emotionally charged. I loved it. 5 out of 5 stars. And because I loved The Witches Are Coming so much, I read Shrill, Notes from a Loud Woman, again by Lindy West. Shrill was the last book that I read this month. And it is another memoir by Lindy West. The Witches Are Coming was more like a series of essays, and Shrill is kind of like that, but there is definitely a through line, which I loved. This is part of the description. Hailed by Lena Dunham as an essential and hilarious voice for women, Lindy West is ferociously witty and outspoken, tackling topics as varied as pop culture, social justice, and body image. Her empowering work has garnered a coast-to-coast audience that eagerly awaits Shrill, her highly anticipated literary debut. Shrill is comprised of a series of essays that bravely shares her life, including her transition